are actually on the 2nd of June 2021. I had to almost check my calendar because I can't believe how fast this year is actually moving. So I am back from a little bit of a royal mental health break, and I'm going to be talking about as many kind of royal topics and issues that have been going on over the past couple of weeks. So, as always, it's a live chat, so I'll be trying to read and answer as many viewer comments and questions as is possible. So let's get straight to it. In the title today, I've called it Abeyant Peerages, the truth, because I want to tell you a little bit about what I know to be the truth about titles and peerages that are put or have been put previously into abeyance. That has become quite a word in the royal world at the moment, because I do believe that Lady C has started a petition against Harry and Meghan to have their titles put into abeyance. So I haven't watched any of her videos about it, so I'm kind of going on perhaps, what I've kind of read here in passing. But I do want to talk about what I know to be the truth about Abeyant Peerages. Also, there's been lots of talk about a new royal yacht. So again, we'll be talking about what I know to be the truth about that, and literally whatever you want to talk about. So, without further ado, let's get straight into Abeyant Peerages. So, there are so many peerages at the moment that are in abeyance. For example, we have the Earl of Arlington, Baron Berger-Venny, the Earl of Kent, the barony of Mortimer, and Viscount Thetford are all currently in abeyance. They're called Abeyant Peerages. There is also a list of previous Abeyant baronesses as well, which you can easily find on Wikipedia. So, what I want to do first of all is to read what abeyance is. So, abeyance is a state of expectancy in respect of property, titles, as in this case, or office, when the right to them is not vested in any one person. So they still exist, but no one is kind of in possession, in ownership of it, but awaits the appearance or determination of the true owner in law. The term abeyance can be applied only to such future estates as have not yet been vested or possibly may never be vested. So, a few key things here which I think people may have slightly missed out on. Basically, it can only be applied to future. So, for example, if Harry and Meghan's titles of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, for example, were put into abeyance, I don't actually think that would happen to them now. I think there would actually have to be a special act of law to make it current. But what it could mean is that if the titles were put into abeyance under the kind of current rules and regulations, that Archie would not be able to inherit his father's titles until perhaps he put a claim in at a later date to almost claim them, to kind of reclaim them. If, however, a kind of a law kind of was passed to make it immediate and current, then obviously it would be up to Harry and Meghan's future heirs, i.e. Archie, currently and presently, to, after his father's passing, to put a claim, make a claim against that title, which may or may not be vested back to him in the future. There is one other really key point about abeyances. Peerages cannot become abeyant in Scotland. Now, as we know, Prince Harry holds, he was given upon his marriage, one Scottish title, and that is the Earl of Dumbarton. So obviously Meghan is also, as a counterpart, known as the Countess of Dumbarton when in Scotland. So in Scotland, you can't have peerages put into abeyance. That is a fact of law. So even if the Dukedom of Sussex was put into abeyance, even if his baronetcy of Kilkeel for Northern Ireland was put into abeyance, he would still hold the Earl of Dumbarton. So they would still be, technically, the Earl and Countess of Dumbarton. So I'm not really sure entirely where Lady C is going with this, because he would still be known by a peerage of Scotland, which he could still use. So I'm not entirely sure where she's going, unless, of course, she wants to change the law in Scotland just for Prince Harry to have that peerage removed. I don't know, I haven't watched her videos. So that's kind of one really, really, really key point. The other key point is, I don't think I've ever heard of an HRH, the HRH, being put into abeyance previously. I think I've heard of it being removed, again, by act of law, but I don't think I've heard of that being put into abeyance. So, if, for example, the Dukedom of Sussex was put into abeyance, Harry could still be known as the Earl of Dumbarton, but also he would still be a royal prince unless they actually removed the HRH title, if that makes, well, style actually, if that makes any kind of sense. So I'm not entirely sure where Lady C is kind of going with it. But anyway, so Manuel has commented, "You look flawless and gorgeous." Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. So if you do have any other questions on peerages becoming into abeyance, do let me know. I hope I've explained really well. It's kind of a complicated-ish type topic. There is a little bit more to it than kind of what I've gone into now, but to keep it really, really simple, hopefully so that everyone can understand, that is currently what the law kind of says. So like I say, I'm just not entirely 100% sure where Lady C is going with it, because even if they did remove, for example, or put into abeyance his Scottish title, he'd still be a prince and he'd still be known as Prince Henry of Wales, and Meghan would therefore be officially the Princess Henry of Wales, which kind of sounds a little bit more regal, if you like, than what Duke and Duchess of Sussex actually does. So, like I say, I'm not quite sure where she's going. Is she kind of, for want of a better phrase, shooting herself in the foot? I don't really know. But let me know what you think. Are you a supporter of Harry and Meghan's titles being put into abeyance? Did you sign the petition? Let me know. But I just thought I'd point out a few. Are you in opposition to it? Let me know. Leave a comment. Either way. I think we have another comment popping through. It says, "Good morning, and how are you today?" I am fine. Thank you very much for asking. I'm hot. It's really, really hot here in the UK, so I can't wear a jacket today. I really can't. It's so hot. I'm actually sweltering in a t-shirt. So literally, as soon as I've gone off air today, I shall be changing my t-shirt because I am just so hot. Hello to Lauren, and hello to Corgi Pom, who says, "I'm excited for the Platinum Jubilee." Me too. Yeah. Lauren says, "Loving the tiara." Thank you so much. It is the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. And hello to Karen Olsen in America. I can see a few people just joining, so if you've missed my previous topic of conversation, which was about titles being put into abeyance, do go back after this live chat and check out the first segment, which is roughly lasted about 9 minutes. So I'm going to carry on. There's been renewed talk, about a new national British or United Kingdom flagship. So obviously Great Britain, the United Kingdom, is known to be, formally to be a great naval presence. We are an island, so you would typically expect us to have, good naval strength, and of course we have been known for that in the past. And of course, royal yachts have previously existed. The last one, Royal Yacht Britannia, was decommissioned in 1997. The Queen famously shed a tear because she loved the Royal Yacht Britannia. Prince Philip and of course the Queen designed the interiors, which actually is very country cottage-esque, if you like. But it was the first home that they really got to design from scratch. Yes, they redid Clarence House shortly after their marriage, which they didn't live in for long before the Queen became Queen. But this was really from scratch. They actually got to pick the furniture, everything. So the Royal Yacht Britannia was very, very special to the Queen, and must have really, really hurt, I think, when it was decommissioned. So, oh, by the way, also the Royal Yacht Britannia, so much business, billions and billions were signed, of deals were signed on the previous Royal Yacht Britannia, bringing business back into the UK. So Boris has shown renewed interest in having, Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, showed renewed interest in having a new national flagship. Again, I think this is to help with Brexit, to help with recovery from the pandemic. I think he sees it a bit like the old Britannia, where you could send this kind of trade ship off across the world. You could kind of woo business people, foreign dignitaries, foreign royalty, presidents, to do business and to sign business deals and to sign trade deals aboard a slice of Britain, which could be transported all across the world. It's rumoured to cost upward of 250 million pounds. Personally, I actually think in today's shipbuilding world, that's actually quite a conservative estimate of cost. I actually think, finished cost could upwardly be 500 million, half a billion. Looking at the kind of picture that they kind of put out, which I don't know if that is an actual design, because I read an article saying that they could perhaps put that design out to tender. So I don't know if the picture being bandied around is an actual design of the ship. So I'm not going to show it because I don't know if it's the actual design or whether it's just like a representation of what it could look like. Obviously, Boris wants it to be very eco-friendly. The previous Royal Yacht, I think, had diesel engines, which were not replaced. Prince Philip kind of wanted them replaced to something more economical, which they weren't. So I think any yacht or ship that's built going forwards is going to be very economical, and definitely green based. It's going to kind of, I think, be kind of cutting edge in terms of being very environmentally friendly. So I think, like I said, Boris sees it as a tool which is going to cost a lot of money, but hopefully you would get the return on the money, which would actually keep people in jobs. And I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, that 200, 500 million, whatever it's going to eventually cost, could go on this, or it could go on that, or it could help this person, or it could help that person. But really, when you think about it, signing business, getting business and trade into the UK is going to keep people in jobs. It's going to help, hopefully, prevent people from having to go on national state benefits, hopefully prevent people from accessing food banks. Basically, keeping the country and growing the economy is the best way, I think, out of people living in poverty or deprivation, or trying to upskill people to meet the needs of the different trades that's coming in. So I think initially it looks like a lot of money, a lot of outlay, but I think it could also bring in a lot of return and a lot of stability to the country. So I am in agreement with Boris on this one. I think a new ship, a national ship, would be a really, really great idea to get things into the country. Anyway, costs aside, and I'm sure the costs will be picked apart by a lot of people, probably better qualified than me to pick apart in it. But I can see the benefits in having a new ship. Now, there was lots of talk about what the ship could possibly be called. Previously, Britannia. Obviously, the death of Prince Philip, the Prince Philip, or Her Majesty's Yacht Prince Philip, or the Duke of Edinburgh, could be a strong contender. However, reports have come in from within the royal family. Now, I don't know how true this is, but you know what it's been like recently, where inside sources have actually turned out to be true. So some inside sources, and we'll hold it quite speculatively at the moment, so we'll be reserved about it, but I will tell you what's being said. Some inside sources from the palace have said that perhaps they think that a new royal yacht would be too grand for the royal family, and perhaps they don't actually want their name attached to a new royal yacht. And actually, I haven't seen anywhere where it's actually been said that that the new proposed national flagship is actually going to be a royal yacht, that it is actually going to have any royal connections whatsoever. So I'm going to hold it in reserved judgment at the moment until we have a little bit more detail on whether it's going to be a national flagship or a royal yacht, because the two are very different. Having a ship that has royal connections means that the royal family would essentially have to travel in it, whether it be on foreign tours, on hosting receptions and events. So yeah, a national flagship and a royal yacht are two very different things, but they could coincide. You could still have a royal yacht that's also a national trade ship, because that's kind of what the other Britannia was. The former royal yacht was this kind of hybrid between a trade ship and also a royal family home. And I think it's the connection between the royal family home that made it so special for people coming on board to do the trade. So yes, I kind of think we need to wait for a little bit more detail in what's coming out. And I don't know if the inside sources are true or not. All I will say is that some inside sources, which were previously rejected as just being falsehoods, did actually turn out to be kind of true. So we shall be reserved on that, just for the moment. Let's have a look. Teresa says, no, he is the grandson of the Queen and son of the future king. He was born into the family and should keep his titles. Obviously, you're talking about Harry. As his wife, Meghan deserves hers. And Jackie says, good day to everyone. Good day to you too. Karen says, is the new royal yacht a recent decision? It's been in talks for a very... Well, there's been people kind of petitioning for one within government for a very long time. And I think finally, it's kind of come to fruition, shall we say. Karen says, I got to tour the Britannia with my mum back in 2014. It was beautiful. Yes, if you are in Scotland, if you are up in Edinburgh, literally the docks of Edinburgh, you can go aboard. The old Britannia is now a tourist attraction. I would love to visit one day. It's on my bucket list. So yeah, if you're up that way in the world, go visit the old Britannia. I've heard that it is really spectacular to actually be there aboard the ship. Lauren says a new yacht would be lovely, or maybe even a new train. I don't think they'll get a new train. They could possibly add some new carriages, although I don't think there's a great need for that, or they could at least refit some, maybe. But yes, I do agree. I think a new national flagship is kind of needed. A big outlay to begin with, but I think the return could be really good on the investment. Lauren says, let's hope now restrictions are lifting, some of the royal palaces or places will start opening up again. Yes, absolutely. Tourism is a big industry here in the UK, especially ones with kind of old connections, like to the monarchy or to aristocracy, like national trust properties, all that kind of thing, is really popular here in the UK. Yes, the Jubilee, hopefully. Elizabeth says, great to see you, happy day from across the pond. Hello to you. Karen suggesting Britannia 2 for a name. Yeah, I am not opposed to the Britannia name carrying on. It would be nice to mark Prince Philip with a ship name, or a yacht name, whichever it ends up being. By the way, what was I saying? Yes, it's rumoured to perhaps, it's going to take at least 2 to 3 years for it to be built, designed, built, and then obviously launched. And obviously sea trials as well. It would actually need sea trials. Yeah, I think something nice and uplifting like a Jubilee is what people need after all of what we've been going through right now in the world. Lauren says, how will everyone be celebrating the Jubilee? Me and my family usually sit down and watch everything on TV and have a little buffet. In the UK, there is talk at the moment, because of the Indian variant, that perhaps our lockdown will stay as it is at the moment for an extra month. We don't know if that's true or not. We've no official word, but it could put things back a little. We don't know. Lady Buckingham, hello, says, I want it to be a holiday here in Canada with the Queen's Jubilee. I want to be able to watch it if it's on a Friday or a Monday. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something like this is watched all over the world. So yeah, I think a lot of people, even if you're not British, or you don't have a link to Britain, you can still enjoy a Jubilee. Absolutely, you can still be uplifted and sharing the experience. Absolutely. Yes, and lots and lots and lots and lots of cups of tea. Right, I'm going to turn to my next topic of conversation. Of course, William and Catherine's very successful Scottish tour. Now, I would like to go back through the past few weeks, and I would like to make a separate video on William and Catherine's Scottish tour. I did follow it, although I was taking a bit of a break. I did see things that kept coming through, and I know that there is a lot of kind of footage out there and clips of the tour. So I would like to make perhaps a Scottish highlights tour video. Let me know in the comment section, let me know in the live chat even, if you would like to see a kind of catch-up highlights video. Let me know, and that is something that I could possibly do starting next week, is to kind of go back and look at it and recap. But it was a very successful tour. William gave a really good speech, where he spoke about his time at St Andrews University. Obviously, he had 4 years at St Andrews University, where he met Catherine, his wife, and where essentially the royal family kind of did a deal with the media to allow William and Harry at the time a kind of a freedom. And of course, Harry and William were on very different paths then. Obviously, William was at university, but the kind of deal was for both of them, wherever they were respectively. And William says that he had 4 really happy years, where back in the UK, we didn't really hear much about what William was doing. So the press really did kind of stick to that deal. Yes, they had their key moments where, as part of the deal, things were shared with the media, but it was kind of very orchestrated, kind of set moments in their life during that period. So kind of there was regular contact, regular pictures, for example, but largely his university life was left to himself. It was private. So William very much referring in that speech to a very happy 4 years that he had at university. So for him, it was a really good experience, and nothing at all like what Charles went through, which is why, and I'll touch on it briefly, which is why when kind of Harry was talking to Oprah about breaking the cycle, I kind of felt like Harry had forgotten how much of the cycle had already been broken. When Charles was young, it was very different. And Charles did actually speak out during doing, I think it was a biography. He actually kind of criticised his own parents for being a little bit absent during his own childhood. Now, I think if you ask Charles now, and I don't really want to put words in his mouth, but I think if you asked him now, do you regret saying that? Do you regret criticising your parents? Would you say it again if you could go back? Kind of what benefits did it have for you? I think it's quite kind of safe to say that he probably would have left that out. I don't really think he gained anything by kind of airing that in public. So, like I said, Charles was very much left, wasn't included on foreign tours when his parents went away. He spent a lot of time with his grandmother. He went to a school, Gordonstone, which he absolutely hated. And the only solace he actually found was going back to the Queen Mother on the weekends, of which the Queen Mother gave him the strength to go back the following week and carry on. So very much that was Charles's upbringing. William's and Harry's was very different. Diana absolutely 100% broke the cycle. She took William and Harry to theme parks. She insisted that William and Harry went on foreign tours so that there wasn't that parental separation. Diana absolutely showered William and Harry with love, and that obviously did rub off a little bit on Prince Charles, because Prince Charles in later years after Diana's passing took William and Harry on tours and visits and all that kind of thing. Diana took William and Harry to homeless shelters. It was William and Harry had a very, very different upbringing to what Charles did. Harry also spoke about not being able to have bike rides, for example, with his father, when there was actually pictures emerging of Prince Harry having bike rides with his father. Granted, they were on their own private estates, which are like thousands and thousands of acres of land. So there was no need to go on, for example, public roads. But if they did, they would have had protection. So I don't know. I think that William and Harry's upbringing, when you look at the facts, was incredibly different to how Charles was brought up. So I don't know how you can almost compare the two. They are incredibly, incredibly different. And like I say, William and Harry have had a great deal of freedom compared to, I'm not saying it's freedom as we know it, as civilians, as we know it, but a great more deal freedom than what Charles had. And Princess Anne as well. I think it was slightly different for kind of Edward and Andrew, the kind of Queen's like next generation of children, if you like, because the Queen's children were very much split into kind of Charles and Andrew first, and then it was, Charles and Anne first, and then it was very much Andrew and Edward kind of second. Andrew and Edward did get a lot more leeway. For example, the Queen was a bit more relaxed, etc., with them. But certainly kind of Charles and Anne did get a bit more of the rough end of the deal, almost being born in a completely different time, and obviously a product of that time. So I don't know how Harry can kind of make those comparisons. I know people are going to have a lot to say on that. I welcome your thoughts, I welcome your comments, but I personally see very different childhood upbringings, and I think it does Diana a really big disservice to kind of say that it was the same, because Diana made so much effort and success in changing and breaking that cycle. So yeah, I can see something completely different. So I will hopefully make a video on William and Catherine's Scottish tour. I'm going to go and just read a few comments right now, because I can see some coming in. Let's have a little look. Lauren says, how do we think they will do trooping the colour this year? Well, following Boris Johnson's, the government's path to lockdown in the UK, things should have been okay if things stick to schedule. But like I say, if things are put back because of the Indian variant, in the UK right now, infection cases are rising, but deaths are not. So because of our vaccination programme, I think was it yesterday, we had 0 recorded deaths, even though the cases are going up. So I don't know. I think people way more qualified than myself will be in the background analysing a hell of a lot of data, and will make that decision hopefully soon, so that we all know what's happening as to whether our present position in lockdown will be extended, or whether the path out of lockdown will be adhered to. We really have no idea at the moment. So trooping the colour, I think, is a little bit in the balance. It is obviously a big gathering of people in its traditional form, although it could be, as it was last year, a much smaller scale at Windsor Castle based, which actually I quite enjoyed how it was last year. It seemed a little bit more personal. So yeah, if it did end up being a bit more like it was last year, I'm kind of fine with that for another year, I think. Karen says, I followed the Scottish tour and would love you to do a highlights video. Then yes. Mary says, do you think that Meghan and Harry should come back for the Jubilee next year? Right, I'm going to highlight a word you used. Do I think they should come back? that is incredibly subjective, because I wouldn't like to tell anyone that they should or should not do something. So, it's a family occasion. Believe it or not, even though Drooping the Colour is all pomp and ceremony and circumstance and trumpeters and carriages, it's actually a family celebration. It's one that's celebrated nationally and in a very public way, but it's very family based, which is why you see at the end of Drooping the Colour all of the extended family coming out, spilling out onto the balcony to wave and see the fly past. So Harry and Meghan, I would imagine, would be invited to it, and it would be up to them as to whether or not they wanted to come to it. Because Harry no longer has his military appointments, I doubt he would be riding formally at Trooping the Colour, but he could, for example, with Meghan, go in the carriage procession, exactly the same as Beatrice and usually do. Or, if he didn't want to do that, he could come out on the balcony after, or he could come and not take part in any of the public parts of it and just be there for the Queen. But I imagine that he would be invited, but it would be completely up to Harry and Meghan as to whether or not they wanted to, I suppose, or were able to, if the pandemic obviously means that travel restrictions are still there. Lauren says it's nice to see the royals back on tour, makes you feel like some sort of normality has returned. Indeed. Duchess of St Andrews is overjoyed that I'm reporting live. Thank you so much. And Karen says it's lovely to see the Queen and Prince Charles and Camilla out and about doing events recently. Yes, the royal family, the current working royals, have done an amazing job, just literally just carrying on. They've kept on carrying on, and I think Britain is united in being incredibly thankful and respectful of that. Lauren says it's nice to also hear the Queen will be with her cousins for Trooping the Colours. Yeah, hopefully, if it's all allowed. Now, I don't know if I spoke about this before I went on my little hiatus, but the Queen did actually lose one of her new puppies. Fergus is believed to have sadly passed away. The palace didn't confirm or deny anything, but I imagine if it hadn't have been true, they would have literally said, look, everything's fine. So at a few months old, Fergus is believed to have passed away. We don't know what of or why. Sometimes it does just happen with animals. It could have been, heart failure or something internal. I'm not discounting an accident of some kind, but I imagine that also would have really, really hurt the Queen as well to lose another companion, I guess. So very, very sad, and my thoughts and prayers do go out to the Queen. Obviously still grieving Philip, to then be grieving a pet as well. Yes, I am wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, and it is really nice and shiny too. Oh no, Nancy, apparently my Christmas package was returned to you. Oh no. I have no idea why. I didn't get any notifications that anything was even there. Karen says, I love Princess Anne, such a strong, level-headed and immensely dedicated to the crown. Indeed, she most definitely is. Marajor says, thank you for being honest on your opinions. You are more than welcome. Lauren says, I suppose there will be some sadness at the Jubilee with Prince Philip sadly not being with us. Absolutely. And I'm sure it's at these sorts of moments that the Queen really does miss him. Of course, he retired, so he hadn't taken part in recent Trooping the Colours, but he would always have been there behind the scenes, so to speak, even if he was watching from Wood Farm on TV. Tammy says, don't you think the pictures of the family together with Prince Harry riding bikes was maybe a photo op? Because during that time their marriage was not good and the public did not know it. I'm not discounting anything. I mean, anything is possible. It could most definitely have been a photo op. The chances are there. But it still happened. There was still bike rides. And to be honest, I saw one of the photos and it was Harry being pulled in like a handmade carriage that was attached to Prince Charles's bike. That didn't look to me like it was a one-off thing. I think if it was a photo op, I mean, you've already seen the royal family's kind of staged photos, and you know when something's like really, really, really staged. Like, for example, we had the Cambridge Christmas card photo when they were on the bikes and that kind of thing. So you kind of know when things are a little bit staged, just for a photo. But the fact that this carriage looked, if you actually look at the photo, the carriage that Harry was in looked well used. It didn't look new at all. It looked well used. It looked well worn. And I don't know, would you go to all that trouble to have a handmade carriage built for Harry just for a photo op? I mean, you could easily have just put Harry on the saddle in front or behind, or William behind and Harry in front, and just kind of done something. So I don't know. It's possible it was a photo op, but I'm not so sure. It looked like a well-used carriage to my eyes anyway. And even if it was a photo op, it still happened and there was a bike ride. So there we go. Yes, this is the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, and it's a replica of the Queen's, although I wish I had the real one, to be quite honest. Let's have a look. Kay Castillo says, could Harry have meant bike riding outside their estates? Yes, again, he most possibly could. However, like I said, the estates are so vast. It's almost like, well, why would you want to? I mean, I've bike ridden on the public streets, and hey, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I don't really think Harry was missing out on much, to be quite honest. No, these estates they're riding on were vast. I mean, you could literally go for a bike ride for hours and hours and hours, you know, and still have somewhere different to go the next day or the day after. So, yeah. But also, you know, Harry was still followed when he was bike riding in the US. He's followed by his own security detail. You know, he's out for a bike ride whilst he's still being followed by all of his security people. So you've got to ask yourself, how much freedom is it actually? When, you know, on the Sandringham estate or Balmoral estate, you'd have had, you know, maybe a couple of protection officers, maybe one kind of following, because it is a very secure and private estate. But you wouldn't have had like an entire Range Rover full of security people armed with all guns. You know, you might have had one or two security officers. You know, ask yourself the question, which is more freedom, or are they about the same even? Let's have a look. Lauren says, whether it was a photo op out there on the estate, he said he had never been on a bike. Yeah, which is basically kind of what I said. 68 years since the coronation. Yes. Lauren says, you think that Harry will return for the statue unveiling. Well, I've spoke about this statue unveiling before. I think personally it should be postponed for another year. We've waited since the 20th anniversary of her passing, since we knew about this statue, until now. It was supposed to be last year. We've waited. I just think that this year might not be a good time. I can understand the eagerness to get the statue out there because it's been in the works for so long, but I kind of just think and feel that one more year isn't really going to make that much difference. Also, it could give William and Harry perhaps a chance to help repair things so that things might not be as frosty, so to speak. But yeah, but also with the pandemic as well, I just think one more year isn't really going to matter. Also, we had Catherine meeting Milla. Milla was the little girl who requested that she'd love to see a real princess wearing pink. And of course, it was so adorable to see Catherine making Milla's wish come true. Milla was the little girl who's been going through chemotherapy. She featured in the Hold Still book. She was the one kind of touching the windows, not being able to see her father because her father was isolating himself to protect her. So he was shielding. Milla since has grown some hair back, so hopefully her treatment has been going really, really well. But it was lovely to see Catherine honouring this little girl's wish and being that princess in pink, which was just absolutely adorable. So yeah, I just want to say a really big shout out for Catherine for making that little girl's dream come true. And she looked gorgeous. The dress was absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Maggie says, great idea. 1 year will fly like crazy. Yeah, it'll be a safer time to do it in, and hopefully a bit more water under the bridge for William and Harry, I think. Comet also says, I agree with waiting. Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm going to leave today's chat at. Hopefully we've caught up with a lot of things that have been going on. If I've missed anything out that you really feel that you want me to address, or you've got further questions on what I've already said, or you just want to say hi, whatever, leave a comment in the comment section below, and hopefully I'll be able to pick up on that in the next video. So thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a big old thumbs up. It really does help. Share the video on social media to push it out there, because sometimes YouTube doesn't push it out to the right people. So push it out there to people who are interested. And of course, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. So from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, and goodbye.